Chapter 37 of Genesis is a good one. It's Joseph's dreams. Joseph, the guy who gets the colorful dream coat. But is it a dream coat or is it just a coat? The musical is a dream coat, the Technicolor dream coat. The story is just coat. And one thing that's interesting in here is that the Bible actually has a note that says the meaning for the Hebrew word is uncertain. They call it an ornate coat. It's not necessarily colorful, it's ornate. So it could be shiny, it could be complex, it could be patterned. It doesn't necessarily have to be colorful. And Joseph really doesn't have a good time here. It's a famous I think it's famous. Like in terms of Bible stories, it's a famous one. He goes out to hang out with his brother. First of all, he tells him some very insulting dreams. You kind of want to feel bad for Joseph. He's young, and I mean, when you're young, you're stupid. He's 17. If you're 17 or younger right now and you're like, hey, that's insulting, just wait until you're like 27, and then you'll look back on yourself and be like, I was stupid. My 17-year-old self was very stupid. You will say that, I guarantee you. And he tells his brothers, hey, I had a dream where we all had sheaves of grain, like bundles, I think that's what sheaves are. He says, I have a sheaf, and our sheaves he said, all of your sheaves were bowing down to my sheaf. And it made understandably, his brothers, I was like on Joseph's side at first. I was like, oh, come on, he's a kid. And then he tells his dream, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty annoying. That's like a really annoying younger brother thing to do. And then he has another dream where he says the sun and the moon and the stars were all bowing down to him, like his dad and his mom and his brothers. And even his dad, Jacob/Israel, he has two names. He was given the name Israel by God for whatever reason. And he goes, hey, that was annoying. He tells the actual things he says was his father kept the matter in mind. So I think that means he thought like, oh, it's kind of a douchey thing to do, to say, Joseph. But here's the thing, while that is annoying, what ends up happening is his brothers go out to tend the grazing flocks in the field. Do they take like the cows out or whatever, donkeys? I don't know what animal it is, to graze the fields, to feed the animals and get food. And then Joseph wants to go meet them. He goes out into the field. For some reason, it tells us he got lost. I don't know why that's in there, but he gets pointed in the right direction of his brothers. And then his brothers see him coming in the distance, and they go, hey, let's kill him. That's their response. They go, let's murder our brother. His dreams are a little too annoying. Annoying enough for murder. And then one of his older brothers actually tries to save him. He goes, hey, let's just throw him in a pit, and then we'll take the coat back and we'll tell our dad that he died, but he doesn't actually have to die. And then the way they make it sound is he intends to go back and actually get him out. But he leaves for some reason. I don't know why. He goes to eat. He goes to pee. I don't know what he's doing. And the rest of his brothers sell him into a group of Ishmaelites, a caravan of Ishmaelites, that's what it says, and they're going to Egypt. So he sells them to the Ishmaelites who are going to Egypt, and then the brother comes back, he's going to help him out, and then he realizes he's gone, and he's like, what did you guys do? You can't actually sell him. And they're like, we were going to kill him, but you convinced us not to do that. And he's like, yeah, but you can't sell him. And he's gone. He's really upset. And then he goes back and they tell their dad, and he's really upset. And it is sad if you're like a new viewer and you haven't like read the Bible with us so far. It's a sad thing, but his dad is also like a real dirtbag. He's a terrible guy. He's a nothing but awful, selfish things and his name's Jacob, by the way. I pointed it out like a billion times on this channel already, but it's just so annoying that everyone names their kids Jacob because he's terrible. He's an awful person, or he's not been redeemed yet. Like maybe we're going to get there at some point. It hasn't happened. He's just a bad guy, but it is sad. You know, he thinks his son is dead. They bring him back the cloak. They cover it in blood, and he says, a ferocious animal must have torn my son to pieces. That would be it's a morbid, upsetting thought. And I wouldn't say anyone deserves that. However awful he's been, and he's been awful. I mean, go watch the videos. Jacob's an awful guy. But still, even in light of all of that, I don't think it's great to think your son has been mauled by an animal, especially when you're playing favorites and it's your favorite son. I didn't even mention that part. Joseph was his favorite. The Bible openly says it because he had him when he was old. He said he was super old and he had a son. He's like, oh, wow, I still got it in me. So he favors Joseph above everyone else. That's why he likes him. But that's it. We know that now he's been sold to Potiphar, who's an official of the pharaoh in Egypt. So he's actually sold to a really, of all the people you could be sold to, like Potiphar would probably be the one. Because who else would you want to be sold to? I'd rather be living in Pharaoh's palace in Egypt. Maybe that's where Joseph is. He's hanging out at the pyramids. He's in a big temple. That's cool. It's cool. You know, you can't deny that. I'm not saying being a servant is cool, but you're rubbing shoulders with the Pharaoh, or be at least looking at him from a distance. He's probably waving the big leaf like they do in all the old movies. Here you go, Pharaoh. Thank you for letting me stay in your temple. Maybe he's got some concubines of his own. Yeah, we're getting into some juicy stories here at the end of Genesis. So tune in if you want to enjoy the rich beginnings of the Bible. See you guys later.